Hi, welcome to Not Dead Yet. It's our second episode, and we're going to talk about some ABCs and just start walking forward. Actually, don't start walking forward, keep walking forward. But before we get into the heart of today's episode, I want to talk about some of the feedback I got. So we're going to start with some housekeeping. First, no, not going to date you. So that handles some of the response I got from last week's episode. And second, no, I'm sorry. I'm not going to send you $200. I'm not going to send you $300. I wish I could. I wish I could make everybody listening to the podcast rich. That would make me really happy, but it's not going to happen. I'm sorry. So third on the feedback list, I know I have a problem. I look up to the sky a lot. I don't know why. I know there's nothing on the ceiling, so I'm working on that. The fourth feedback is a little more substantive. Look, when I first told people about the podcast, there were a lot of people who didn't get it. They thought a podcast of being not dead yet and middle-aged plus was going to be depressing. I had to be depressed. Why else would I be doing this podcast? I mean, if I had stuff to talk about being this age and about being middle-aged, and I had to be depressed about it, right? I'm not depressed. Well, you know what? Truth is, there are some days I'm kind of sad. And the feedback I got about the first episode was kind of along those lines. It was about, I'm not dead yet either, but the one thing we're all sure about is we're going to die. And I promised during that first episode that we're going to talk about some of the tough stuff to talk about. So the thing I want to say is that it's okay to be sad. It's okay to be depressed, and we don't have to get defensive about it, and we don't have to pretend that we're not. And so we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about being depressed and being sad, and we're going to talk about death and dying and the other inevitable things that are going to happen to all of us. So we're not going to talk about it today, but we will talk about it. And I wanted to assure the listeners who wrote to me that I heard you. And I'm not ashamed about being sad or depressed myself. And I'm not shying away from the hard things to talk about. And I'm going to invite you to talk to us about how you're feeling too. So today, though, we're going to start off by talking about the ABCs of middle age plus. Let's start with A. A is about accomplishment. We have a lot to be celebrating about, and we're going to celebrating our accomplishments. My greatest accomplishment is my son. I'm going to tell you all that I have one son, and he is fabulous. I always joke that my son is enough to convince any parent to have exactly one. And it's a joke. It's a joke, but he is remarkable. He's always been remarkable. He's always been a handful, but that's only because he was brilliant and he was different and he was the smartest kid in the room and in my opinion, of course, the most handsome. But he was a challenge to raise, and he's become this most remarkable grown up. He is now living in New York, and he has a fabulous job. He's got a master's degree. He was running a hotel in Times Square in the midst of the pandemic, and he was taking care of doctors and nurses. And he then went back to school and got a master's in data analytics. And he is funny and he is charming, and he put himself through school. But you know what? That doesn't make me any less proud of the accomplishments that I take credit for. I raised a remarkable human being that is going to contribute incredible things to this earth and to this world. And that is my legacy. That is an accomplishment that I brag about every single day. And you know what? My relationship with my son is wonderful. And that is another accomplishment that I am incredibly proud of and that I share with you, and I smile and I grin from ear to ear because it fills me with joy. My son fills me with joy. I love him to death. And I wish that upon all of you. Other accomplishments, my accomplishments in professionally, I started with nothing. I started without a college degree and I became a principal of a law firm. I own my own consulting business. I have testified before the US Congress. I have lobbied on behalf of a national trade association. I have had my own consulting firm for over 13 years. I have hobnobbed in Washington, D.C. I have done remarkable things. I had wonderful things. People support me and let me fly and soar and accomplish. And I am proud of what I've done. And I am proud of myself. And I have faith in myself. And I have faith in my ability to stand on my own 2 feet. I have had nobody else supporting me. I have managed to keep a roof over my head and a roof over my child's head. And it hasn't been easy. We have struggled, but we have come through. And I am proud of that accomplishment and what I continue to accomplish to do to make ends meet and to make sure I have food and to make sure I wake up every morning and that I'm here talking to you now. I'm proud of that accomplishment. So that's my A. B, bewilderment. How in the world is it now 50 plus years on this earth, right? That's what the B in the ABCs of middle age plus is all about. Bewilderment. How did this happen? How all of a sudden are their memories 30 years plus old? How all of a sudden are there wrinkles on my face? How all of a sudden is there an AARP magazine waiting for me in my mailbox? How all of a sudden am I worried about where the money is going to come from for the next 30 or 40 years? How all of a sudden do I have to take ownership of that 50 plus age old marker? Bewilderment that I'm this number that I always thought would happen to somebody else. It's bewilderment that all of a sudden I'm no longer that young whippersnapper that I always thought I would be. I'm not the superstar anymore. I'm old. How did that happen? Bewilderment. See? Caution, concern. It's C is a challenge. It's a challenge. It's another C word. C is about caring about things I never thought I would have to care about. C is about caution. It's about courage. It's about concern. It's about concern about the next 30 or 40 years on this earth and not really being sure what they look like. It's the great unknown. The first, 50 years of life on this earth is sort of predictable. I mean, you grow up, you get married, you have kids, you know what that looks like. The next 30 or 40 years, I don't know what that looks like. It's all new. It's unknown. That's scary. You're cautious. You're concerned. It's a challenge. But you know what? There's another C word that as I was thinking about tonight's podcast, I realized maybe even more important than the other C words we just talked about. And that C word is choices. We are not dead yet, and we still have choices we can make. We have choices, and the most important choices that we have to make is a choice to keep moving forward. It's a choice to continue moving on. It's a choice to matter. It's a choice to get up in the morning. It's the choice to not just sit back and think, oh, we made it. We did it. We have all these wonderful things to celebrate, all these accomplishments that we already did. Now let's sit back, watch Netflix, turn on all those hundreds and hundreds of channels that we don't even know what the hell they are for. And we could just sit back and do nothing with the rest of our lives. That's a choice too. It's not necessarily the right choice to make. But you know what is the right choice to make? Not only the choice to move forward, but the choice to be happy. That's the choice that presents itself at this time, at this stage of adulthood. That is the most marvelous choice of all. It's the choice to find the things in life now that make us happy. It doesn't have to be a big choice with monumental, things that are going to make major changes in our life, but it's a choice to find happiness in the little things that make you happy. Because if at this point in your life, you can't make those choices that make you happy, if you can't find happy at this stage in your life, it kind of doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So the C word that I think matters most at this point in your life is choices. The choice to move forward, the choice to make it matter, the choice to move forward. ABCs: accomplishment, bravery, bewilderment, care, concern, courage, and making the right choices. And you know what your next right choice is going to be? It's going to be to tune in to this podcast next week, next Sunday, October 8th at 7 o'clock. Not Dead Yet is going to be live. And that means we need you to participate. And so just still learning all this podcast doodads and how to connect with what and how to connect with y'all. But I'm going to get it, and we're getting it. We're going to be live. I think we're going to be able to live stream on multi-different media at the same time. Definitely Facebook Live, our Not Dead Yet podcast Facebook Live page. We're also going to be live streaming on YouTube, and I'm going to be bombarding you with the ads and the announcements and as many media as I can. But please tune in and please call in with your questions and your comments. I want to hear from you. We're going to be talking about relationships. It's a hot topic because even at our age, relationships matter. And there are all sorts of relationships. We're going to be talking about them all. Like I said, we're not avoiding the hard topics. So call in, talk to me, and talk to everybody about your relationships, because we're not dead yet. So we need one another. And we're going to make the right choices. We're moving forward. Thank you for tuning in. I can't wait to talk to you live next week, October 8th at 7 o'clock. So keep making the choices, keep moving forward, and I'll talk to everybody next week. Have a great week. Thanks. Bye.